You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast for our first IPL weekend review of 2024. And oh my God, what an absolute humdinger of a weekend we have in store for you. Gujarat Titans, they robbed the Mumbai Indians. The Rajasthan Royals, quite a comfortable win over the Lucknow Super Giants. We had Heinrich Klaasen lining up against Dre Russ, Kolkata Knight Riders v Sunrisers Hyderbad yesterday. And to kick it all off, the Punjab Kings of Comedy, the Delhi Capitals. We'll be talking about all of those games, doing a little preview of what's happening on Monday and Tuesday and more. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. Ross, you're in a tracksuit. Is that a team tracksuit? Is that the Cricket Podcast I Don't Like Cricket Club tie-in club tracksuit? How are you doing?
Yeah, me as the I Don't Like Cricket Club tracksuit and a little Las Vegas Aviators hat for those eagle-eyed minor league baseball fans. Yeah, I'm great. I'm in great fettle. The IPL has not disappointed, even from Friday night's game where CSK won all the way through the weekend. It's been box office, as you'd expect. And in this final season before the mega auction, it's great to see some teams have kind of figured out and strengthened what they've done. Other teams have just gone completely the opposite direction and are absolutely woeful. And I cannot wait to get into having a go at some of those teams on this podcast.
Yeah, well, there'll be plenty of blame to go around, I'd have thought. Max, I heard you sniggering there. Are you excited to talk about some cricket?
Absolutely, yeah. What a weekend this has been. So much snatching defeat from the jaws of victory has gone on this weekend. It's been a stunning display of competence and incompetence all at the same time. It's been brilliant.
And that's what we want, isn't it, really, from cricket? We don't want...
We can't have people who are good all the time, because then you're like, oh, tell me about what happens. Like, well, this guy was really good at his job and it was fun. That's boring.
Basically, we want a world of Pakistans. And this weekend, the Indian Premier League delivered a world of Pakistans. And there's no higher praise than that. Before we get going, just a reminder to like and subscribe to the Cricket Podcast. As we said on the last show, 65% of the people that listen or watch don't subscribe. You people, I'm talking to you directly, sort your life out. Get on the bandwagon. And if you want to follow the Cricket Podcast on social media, we are at the Cricket Pod. Ross, I'm going to throw you a grenade here, and I'm going to tell you that you have to summarise the cricket match that just happened. We're going to start with Gujarat Titans v the Mumbai Indians.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the big one, right? This was Gujarat Titans, Mumbai Indians, the Hardik Pandya derby. And normally in the IPL, you get forced rivalries, don't you? Like it's a bit forced, and it all feels a little bit just like, oh yeah, they really, really hate each other. On this occasion, actually, you could actually hear in the stadium the Gujarat Titan fans absolutely hated the fact that Hardik Pandya had been traded to Mumbai Indians, and there was a underlying metal to the game is probably how I'd say it. And in certain cases, it spilled over a little bit. There's videos going around of Hardik telling Rohit what to do. I think he sends him out to the boundary, and people was like, how dare he do that to him? And it's just brilliant drama, both internally at Mumbai Indians and in the game. And what we were treated to was... I thought it was quite a fun game, really, because at both times it kind of ebbed and flowed. You saw the Titans, Ridham and Saha. What more can you want? Like, if he's still playing and he's like 40 years old as the wicketkeeper for them, and he smashes Hardik Pandya for a 4 first ball, it's going to be a good game. Jasprit Bumrah has a different thing to be saying about it, though. And as much as Shubman Gill and Sai Siddharthan did their level best, it was Mumbai who continuously took wickets at kind of decent intervals, and they limited Gujarat Titans on what was an okay pitch to 168. There was obviously debut wickets for Gerald Coetzee. Luke Wood looked like he was going to be fantastic with his first over going for 6, and then got the treatment in the second over, so he might never play for Mumbai Indians again. So we never know how this kind of thing works out. And then you saw the fight back. I think it's probably fair to say, because 168, you're thinking, you know what, against this Mumbai Indians, I think, destruction train, it kind of feels like at times, this batting lineup. Ishan Kishan went early on, and there was a little bit of fireworks from debutant Namandir, but again, not quite enough. And then Dewald Brevis and Rohit Sharma steadied the ship, but it kind of was a bit too serene. They got into a great position, and then what was it? I think it was 40 off the last 5 they needed.
43 off the last 5.
Yeah, and that should
7
be a walk
wickets
in the
in the
park, right? Yeah, that should be an absolute walk in the park. And unfortunately, on this occasion, I think they started to believe their own hype. They thought they'd guaranteed the win. Gujarat Titans kind of fought back, and then when Hardik Pandya got to the final over, 19 I think needed from it, 6 off the first ball of Umesh Yadav, 4 off the second, and you were just like, oh my god, this is going to add to the rich tapestry of the IPL yet again, with Pandya coming back to haunt his previous franchise. And then he threw away his wicket. He absolutely bottled it, Hardik Pandya. And yeah, Umesh Yadav had the last laugh, taking a couple of wickets in the final over. And Gujarat sneak past Mumbai Indians at the Narendra Modi Dome. A fun game, lads.
Yeah, they absolutely robbed them. 43 off 5, which is sorry, by the way, 7 wickets in hand as well. It's completely in the bag from the point of view of Mumbai Indians. So we're talking like a 50-1 long shot. What ends up happening is that they convert that into 19 required off 8 with 6 wickets down and then number 8 at the crease. And then they manage to convert that situation into 9 required off 2 balls and Jasprit Bumrah's on strike. I don't think you'll see a better example of a batting team bottle a T20 chase than that. Now, I don't want to take any too much away from Gujarat. I think they did some things well. Spencer Johnson bowled a really good over in there. Rashid Khan had 2 of the last 5, which is always going to play a huge role. And Umesh Yadav did what he needed to do, which was not get hit to Mars. Max, can you talk about the bottle job though? Because Mumbai Indians, they're kind of easy to hate, and I think we should pile in.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the forced rivalries. I think suddenly the whole Hardik transfer thing makes sense, right? Gujarat are new; they needed someone to hate, and now they've got it. So suddenly, for the IPL, it all falls into place. It was odd for me. The bottle started when Hardik refused to actually come out to bat until the very end. I don't personally know what that was about. The commentary seemed to suggest that they thought Tim David was out there because he was, very adept at taking down the pacers, and they had overs left that were going to have to be bowled by pacers. But at the time, Rashid Khan was bowling, so why didn't you send someone out to deal with that first? And rather than get yourself into a situation where suddenly you're behind the game and chasing it. But it was, it was just they'd won the game basically. Like when Brevis was 40 odd off 20 and Rohit was on about the same, it was basically done, right? They just needed to be professional and do the job, and they took their foot off the gas. And it's a criminal thing to do in a game of T20 when you start just tapping the ball around. You think, oh, we're well ahead of the game, and then suddenly, before you know it, you're back into needing boundaries. And anything can happen at that point when it comes to trying to chase a total, no matter what total you're chasing. When you start getting to a point where you have to hit the boundaries, it gets trickier. Rohit Sharma was brilliant again. He, after last year, he showed that he's maybe not just a 1 year flash in the pan at the age of 34, 35, whatever it is. And the other thing I think has been interesting is the method that the bowler's been using at the death of basically banging it in. I don't know if it's the fact that they've now got that extra safety net that if it does get a bit high above the shoulders, it's not going to come as a second short ball and they'll get pinged, because that's now something that we've seen, I think, in all of these games, cause some people problems. And now, it's sort of the go-to here, and it's really exciting because it either goes for 6 or gets caught on the boundary, and that's kind of what's led to the bottle job here.
Doing that at the death is dumb, and that is statistically provable. I don't think that's what Gujarat were doing. I think it was actually a lot of slower balls that were hit, bowled into sort of a back of a length area. But if you bowl short of the death, that's a really dumb thing to do. Ross, something else that I think was probably pretty dumb was Tilak Varma deciding that he was going to stop trying to score runs. Literally sending Tim David back, I think, 2 balls in a row. Right. So what he's doing there is he's saying, I'm the left-hander and I'm a better orthodox batter, and Rashid Khan is bowling, and Tim David, you're a slogger, so we're going to just keep you at the other end where he can't get you out. But they did kind of need some runs, didn't they? Can you talk me through that thought process? How much of an alpha is Tilak Varma, or has he alphaed himself, like a self-alpha?
Well, I think it was a little bit of self-alphaing going on because he was the left-hander and he decided to try and reverse sweep Rashid Khan. And it was a little bit just like, why are you making it more difficult for yourself? You're already playing against the world's best leg spinner. And I thought that Tim David did look a little bit all at sea, so I can understand kind of protecting it. But at the same time, just have a go. Like I think there is a little bit here of we like it sometimes where you do see a bit of alphaing, but on this occasion I didn't think it was very necessary. Again, it was going back to the situation they were in of actually keeping the scoreboard ticking over actually would have made things much easier. And if there was 3 or 4 more runs in the tank, it was an easier thing, and they might well have won it in Hardik Pandya's kind of final over onslaught. It was just disappointing, I thought. I didn't see Tim David as a beater, Jack, and I know you've picked him in your draft team. And what do you think this is going to do to his confidence?
I think confidence is largely overrated. And I'm not even going to address that. Is the answer to that. I think basically in that situation, Tilak Varma has massively misread what the best thing to do would be. And I know that Tim David is more likely to get out than Varma to Rashid Khan, and that is true. But what you really need is runs, and Tim David slashing across the line, pretty decent chance to hit a 6 there. Like, and that probably wins the game at that point. Like that probably ends it. It's such a Tim David being out with 3 overs to go or 4 overs to go. Really not a huge issue for Mumbai Indians. It's bad. They don't want him to be out for sure, but it's not the end of the world. The Hardik Pandya comes in. Like, okay, and Hardik Pandya's got a couple more balls to line things up. Great. Tim David hitting a 6 is great, and they're the 2 options that are going to happen. Like by miles, the 2 things that are most likely to happen with Tim David in that scenario is a slog that goes for 4 or 6, or Tim David gets out to Rashid Khan. Saying we don't want to score any runs here, I think there are edge cases where this is perhaps the best tactic. Last over of the game, it's a classic. 1 set batter and 1 number 9. Like, just leave the set batter on strike. It don't run. Like, that's fine. This wasn't that scenario. This was something else.
Tim David at the other end.
I would have ran him out. I'm not even joking. If Tilak Varma tried to do that to me, I would have ran him out. I'd literally be like, fucking come on.
He's got it really wrong. And then he hit a 6, and then he got out the ball after that, and it was like, oh my god, Tilak Varma, that's not going to look good. Can we talk?
Then it goes back to Hardik Pandya batting himself at 7. Like, you're sending in Tim David, and then not even giving him the strike because what you think that Rashid Khan's going to get him out? It's like, what's the play? What's going on in their minds? Well, it makes no sense.
This all flows on from like other decisions they've made about where people bat in the order and why. They're all batting a position too low to accommodate somebody for no reason, really. Like, just be Mumbai Indians. That's all you need to do. Like, put the guys who are really good at hitting 6s in like 4, 5, 6, 7, and you'll win. And I know you've massively overthought this. I mean, like Devil Brevis, for example. Why is he actually in the team? Do you really think he's adding something to your team at number 4? Like, be a good player, but probably not, because you're the Mumbai Indians. Ross, a question for you: Shubman Gill and Ashish Nehra, lucky or geniuses?
Geniuses, obviously. It has to be geniuses. I think on this game, it was like to defend 160 odd against this Mumbai team is going to be a great achievement. And yes, there's an element of choking on the Mumbai Indians front, but again, to manage those troops in that space and get what they needed to out of them. I mean, let's be fair. You're bringing a knife to a gunfight when you've got Umesh Yadav got a bowling at the end, and they managed to come out of the battle winning. And I think it's pretty good. And you saw Neshra talking on the boundary, right? He was talking to Spencer Johnson. Johnson goes for a 6 first ball, manages to come back. I think it takes 2 in the over, and it's just box office. And I liked the involvement, and you saw the celebration at the end. It meant so much. And Max, you said on the preview show after the CSK one that Gujarat just know how to win. They've got 11. They've got 11 players on the pitch who know how to win, and Mumbai left the door open for them. And they're ruthlessly professional. I thought they fielded particularly well, took some really important catches. But the game plan to the different batters, they were mixing it up. They clearly had tactics that were going on in that space, and that is what they want in this team. So it's a huge opening win for Gujarat Titans.
It is. Right, so one last thing, or two last things before we wrap up part one. Obviously, we'd love to speak about this game for an hour, and we could, but we've got 3 more to get through. Who did the preview for Gujarat Titans? That was me, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm going to give a judgment on them. I'm going to give them the thumbs up. I think they played pretty well. Very similar to how I expected them to play, to be honest. Like, lots of players who are pretty good in their role, doing their role pretty well, and then Rashid Khan adding a little bit of magic on top of that. The only thing missing from this for it to be like a classic Gujarat performance was Shubman Gill getting some runs. Who did the preview for Mumbai Indians? Was that me as well?
I think that might also have been you.
Oh, well, the judgment on them is play like fucking Mumbai Indians. Don't play like...
Well, what was going on with the bowling? Bowling.
Last thing then, Ross. Talk about Hardik Pandya. I want to know your thoughts on Hardik Pandya's captaincy and all of that, because we're getting a lot of questions in the chat asking us about that. So address it.
It was a bit too much of the Hardik Pandya show, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, there was no need for him to open the bowling. I didn't think that was the optimal thing to be doing. I didn't think he needed to go full MS Dhoni and kind of drop himself down the order. And you look at kind of what Mumbai have ended up doing. They've used they've used 7 different bowlers.
Yeah.
And you're just a bit like, why do you need to do that? Like, against this lineup, actually, they were in a decent position. And you're coming away from it going, why did Naman Dia bowl an over? Is he a competition winner? Like, he looks good with the bat, but I'm just like, he doesn't need to do everything in this space.
13 runs off that over. It's cost them dear in the end.
Yeah, and it is that part where you've got kind of P.S. Chawla, who was the best spinner last year for them, but only bowling 3. Luke Wood only bowls 2. Hardik himself only bowls 3. You're just a bit like, it just didn't seem to kind of, but they limited them to 160 odd, and that was a winnable. It was definitely a winnable game for the Indians. And I think, the game management, I think just the emotion of it all. Everyone talks about Rohit Sharma being kind of Iceman, right? And Hardik Pandya was not that today. And I think it's ultimately cost them. And they might come to regret that at the end of the season.
We will see. Not a great start for Mumbai Indians, but they haven't won the first match of the tournament for 10 years, and they've done okay in that period of time. So if you are a Mumbai fan, probably not the end of the world. Probably not crying, are you? We're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back. And I think we should do Heinrich Klaasen v Dre Russ. I think that's the next best game. And let's do that.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're about to talk about Sunrisers Hyderabad versus the Kolkata Knight Riders. A thriller at Eden Gardens, like a classic venue, classic teams, classic players. It had everything, this game. Before we get to that, though, another reminder: please like and subscribe to the Cricket Podcast, and if you wouldn't mind, if you've got the time on your hands to do this, share, give us a retweet, put it up on Facebook, just tell a friend on WhatsApp, do something like that. Go to TikTok. We're creating a lot of buzz on TikTok. That's not even a joke. That's not even a joke. We're now TikTok stars. Asterisk 500 followers. Max, do you want to talk about do you want to do a summary for this, or do you want me to have a bash at it?
I'll do it. I'll do my best.
Okay, cool.
KKR SRH. What an incredible game of cricket this was. Swings from left to right, up and down, all over the place. It was incredible. Phil Salt scored 50 to get his account underway for KKR. Not bad. Sunil Narine was back opening. That was a throwback to 2014. Sunil Narine, pinch hitter. Didn't go very well. And in fact, the whole power play went pretty badly for KKR. They lost 3 wickets inside 3 overs. They were 51 for 4 after 7 odd overs, and SRH had done a number on them, and it looked like they were in dire straits. And then it all went ballistic at the end. Ramandeep Singh started it off with 35 or 17, but obviously Andre Russell was the real man. He also turned the clock back to around 2014 and started launching balls into the crowd for fun. 7 sixes and 64 off 25 to take KKR to 208 for 7. A pretty solid looking total, and always going to be tough for Sunrise to chase. But they got off to a pretty good start. They were 60 when they lost their first wicket of Mike Agarwal. Really good power play. They were well up with the rate at the halfway stage. Then things started to sort of just grind to a halt in the face of the 3 KKR spinners, and it all looked a bit too much for them with 3 overs to go and 60 odd needed. But Heinrich Klaasen was there, and we all saw what Dre Russ had done. And Heinrich Klaasen tried to repeat the feat, and he very, very nearly did it. They'd gone from 60 needed to win off 3 overs to 13 off the last over, 6 off the first ball of the last over. It was 7 off 5. It was 6 off 4. They'd done it. They turned it around. The greatest comeback that SRH could have mustered in the last however many years, and then they lost, and it was just like the most incredible finish to a game, and then it still felt like a little bit of an anticlimax just because they'd done this incredible thing to get themselves basically over the line, and then they just collapsed at the very, very last minute. It was like the Brownlee brothers at the end of that triathlon. It was just
That's
about
a reference.
Yeah, the 2 brothers who run the triathlon.
You don't have to explain it, mate.
And the brother carried their brother over the line, except in this case, his brother wasn't there and he just collapsed and passed out. And that's what happened to SRH at the end.
You could have just said they collapsed. Like, you didn't need to bring the Brownlees into that.
I went too far. I apologise. I'll take it all back. It was I couldn't believe what I was watching. I genuinely couldn't believe it. It was so Sunrisers to do what they did and then do what they did.
It was right. What number one? I love this game. This was an IPL all-time classic. The venue, it's that kind of hazy light that you get at Eden Gardens. You don't necessarily get everywhere else. I don't know if they've got like poor floodlights or what's going on there, but Eden Gardens just feels like the IPL to me. Then you throw in Dre Russ playing like an innings for the ages, even by Dre Russ's standards. 64 off 25 balls, 7 sixes, 3 fours. Billy bonkers, that is. And then Heinrich Klaasen, probably the best player in the world at the moment, having a one-man effort at it, maybe with a little bit of Shabazz Ahmed thrown in there. We'll throw him some credit. And then even on top of this, by the way, like Mitchell Starc is one of the bowlers getting hit into orbit. Like he goes for 53 off his 4 overs. Like we're not even really going to talk about Starc in this podcast. I don't think he bowled quite well. He just got Heinrich Klaasen. Like he was bowling good balls, which were getting absolutely dismantled. Sunil Narine, throw him into the mix. 19 for 1 off his 4. That's vintage Narine. I mean, like we've got all these vintage IPL stuff, moments, vintage IPL players, and this is where the icing on the cake is really put on, if that makes sense. Kind of makes sense. You've got Harshit Rana, not a complete nobody, but like a youngster playing in the IPL and really making a name for himself. Bowls well in the power play. He gets thrown the ball at the end, Ross, doesn't he? And bowls the over of his life, basically. And throw into that earlier on in the game, he'd given someone the kiss goodbye, hadn't he? Like Harshit Rana. We'll get to Klaasen, we'll get to Andre Russell, but can you give some love to Harshit Rana?
Yeah, I think you want to see the swagger from younger people, right? In this occasion, and to go into the IPL, you need to have that swagger to survive. And Harshit Rana seems to have that in an absolute abundance. And he's got some cojones on him, I think is how I'd do it. He manages to keep his cool. Suresh Sharma takes a pretty good catch, if I'm perfectly honest.
It was a good catch.
Over the shoulder, like absolutely like high pressure. And we've all been like kind of fielding and kind of that area. When it comes off the bat like that, it is really difficult. It was an unbelievably good catch. And I think, it's really, really good for KKR to have a domestic bowling talent like that, because I think they're kind of crying out for it. I'm loving this KKR side. Absolutely loving them.
I'm all in.
Like they are absolutely box office. And what I was really, really impressed by is just their whole approach. Like normally you see, like Max, you said it, like the wheels well and truly came off at the start of their innings, And yet we're going to still come. We're still going. There was still the intent that was happening there. And that was the bit that got them up to the 200. If they would have tried to kind of meekly knock it around with Shreyas Iyer getting kind of 40 or 40, they would have been absolutely nowhere. And they would have got Heinrich Klaasen, and it would have all ended up as a KKR loss. Yet here they were, Dre Russ coming in at 8 because they literally just had this stacked batting lineup. Like, right, we're going to be flexible. We're going to do this. I couldn't believe that Narayan was opening. As you say, Max, very mid 2010s move.
He's actually been doing it in the Bangladesh Premier League, so he has been doing it. He's reprised the role recently.
He did it in the 100 last year as well.
But I like it.
Well,
I really like it. Like, yeah, this is a bit. I absolutely love it. The fact that just like, do you know what? We don't want this bloody guy coming in at the end and more than likely just losing the game for us. Let's get him out where the power play is, and let's see what happens. And the fact that he's run out is just classic Narayan, isn't it? Let's be fair. The guy. There's no point in him trying to run, and there's no, regardless of how unfortunate he is around it. But it was a fantastic game. I was really impressed with Phil Salt. You saw, and we'll talk about Delhi later on, who decided to play Shy Hope and get rid of Phil Salt for Shy Hope. Phil Salt was brilliant and kind of kept things together. Ramandeep Singh, I watched half of it and then was following some of it on my on ESPN. And I R Singh, and I was just like, oh, this guy's absolutely smashing it. It's Rinku Singh. No, they found another R Singh who could absolutely do it. And having that was fantastic. And I just thought that, the whole innings was just fantastic. So, yeah, and a shout out for some of the Sunrisers bowlers, though, Jack. Markande, not awful, which is scary for Hasaranga. But Natarajan, like, he rolled back the years, didn't he? I thought he bowled really well.
He did. That was vintage IPL. These two teams, I'm going to say it now, they're the two must-watch teams in this IPL. Like, they're not necessarily the best, but you can't not watch
anything.
Anything could happen. You can't not watch a team with Heinrich Klaasen in, and you can't not watch a team with Andre Russell and Narayan and the gang. I mean, like, KKR have gone all in on blokes who can mash. What we really need is for the Iyer brothers, I know they're not brothers, but the two Iyers to continue to get low scores to enable the chaos. We don't need any 40 or 30s. Get out of the way, let the big boys play, and let us have some fun.
It's like having an accountancy firm, isn't it? They're Iyer and Iyer. That's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah.
You've just got these two safe people in the middle.
Yeah, they are. They're the two accountants. And everyone else is on drugs and pretty freaking mental. Klaasen, Max, decent.
Still decent. He's the best T20 batter in the world at the moment, surely, and he has been for like 2 years. Like, it's been incredible. Not just the fact that he is as good as he is, but that he's just been that elite for 2-3 years without a blip. Like, it just keeps coming and coming. And whoever it was, Chakravarti, and then it was Stark.
Yeah, he killed him.
It just destroyed them. I mean, guys had pretty good, like a pretty good day up to that point. Like, Chakravarti had been really difficult to get away. No one was getting away, and Klaasen just turned up, was like, "Nah, I'm done with this. Off you go. See you later." It's just insane how good he is. It's a shame, I think, that he didn't maybe come in an over earlier, and then they'd have probably won with an over to spare. But the brilliance of Klaasen, I think, is tempered by the exact problem that I think Sunrisers have got, that we highlighted in the previews, and that is just glaringly obvious, which is what they've got in terms of having to squeeze these overseas players into their squad. Like, Pat Cummins bowled pretty well, but
objection. Pat Cummins, he did a little bit of it wasn't quite a Hardik Pandya. It's a different type of captaincy fudge here. He bowled himself out before Andre Russell and Rinku Singh properly got going at the death. He saw an opportunity to protect his figures and was like, yes, I'll take the 14th over. Thank you very much. Yeah. And then like the rest of them over to the abattoir.
Send them to the wolves. Fair enough. Selfish captaincy. But, if you're in charge, why not? But I mean, the wider point is, like, so Pat Cummins, his figures are fine. He failed to come in and hit the last ball for 6 to win the game, which would have been pretty great. But it's a similar thing to last year. It's like you look at the sides and like, is the captain in the best 11? Like when Hasaranga is available, you got Hasaranga or Markande. If you bring in Hasaranga, then you're like, who are you going to drop? Like, I think you want Marco Janssen in there for what he offers, and then you're like, oh, maybe Imran Malik would be a better option than Pat Cummins, but you have to play Pat Cummins. It's the same as last year. You had Markram, you had to play Markram. He wasn't batting very well. Was he in the best team? Absolutely not. I actually still think like they'd probably have been better off with Glenn Phillips, maybe
Yes.
even Travis Head. Aiden Markram, 18 off 13, not really what you needed in that chase. I mean, obviously Tripathi was the main man to grind things up and mean that Sunrisers basically had too much to do, even with Heinrich Klaasen. But it's so I've gone from lauding Heinrich Klaasen to talking about why Sunrisers have an issue, which isn't exactly the question that was posed, but it just shows like that Heinrich Klaasen is so important to this side, and when you get him into the lineup, you know, he's batting at 5, one place too low for Heinrich Klaasen, like, or you know, it's a difficult thing for them to manage, and it's when you've got someone that good, you need to make sure your team is built around them, and that your team is set up to benefit from it as much as you can. And that's the problem that Sunrisers have. I think that's kind of the wider point I want to make about Klaasen.
Yeah. Agarwal Sharma, Tripathi, Abdul Samad, Shahbaz Ahmed. They're not great domestic batters. Some of them are fine. I mean, Tripathi, 20 off 20. He didn't do it today, but he's actually fine. Like, he's a fine player. But and some of the rest of them are sort of fine players, but they're not really good players. I don't think.
I think Markram was the problem here. As much as Tripathi's innings is there, I think Markram being in that lineup, they knew what they were coming up against, and I think they picked the wrong player in that space. And I think it ultimately cost them. He's too conservative, kind of in that. I know we've seen some of those innings around it, but he just leaves a lot to be desired.
Unfortunately, you can't pick your batting lineup after you know what you're chasing. That'd be a good invention for T20 cricket. You pick your team after the toss, and then you get another go when you've conceded 208.
That's the impact sub, I suppose. But
great.
Never mind. Sunrisers losing. We predicted that KKR would win. So I'm glad we.
Can we have who previewed SRH?
I did. Yeah.
Can you give us a judgment after one game?
I can, yeah. It's exactly what I thought, really. Probably not going to know what their best team is because they've got too many overseas players who are already good. I think they got it slightly wrong. Pat Cummins, as the captain, puts them in a similar position as they were last year. But there's a lot to be excited about. Like, there's guys who can do things. Obviously, they've got Klaasen, but I mean, Abhishek Sharma was good as an opener, but like, he's not elite in terms of homegrown player, but he's an exciting player that SRH have got. There's a lot to like about SRH, and they're going to do some exciting stuff. They already did in this game despite losing, but they're just held back by the team structure and the squad, and having to work out how to fit all of these different things into one cohesive machine. So not
even a place for Washington Sundar Max house.
No, what a shame.
A tragedy. And who did the preview of KKR?
Oh, it was me as well. Yeah.
Okay. What's your judgment on KKR after one game?
My judgment KKR is that it was a very, very good paint job. The paint job also replaced the engine. Yeah.
They've replaced the engine, the wheels.
It took him for a paint job, and the guy was like, look, there's a lot needed to do to get this through the MOT, but because I like you, I'm going to do it all for free. That's what happened with KKR. Because I mean, they're so much fun. I mean, it could all have fallen in a heap. Like, let's not forget that if it wasn't for Dre Russ's antics, it nearly did break down.
It is Dre Russ, though.
Yeah,
he does do all the time.
He does. He still does it. It's incredible that he still does it. But
it's not really. He's been doing it for like 10 years.
But I mean, all good things must come to an end.
I'm not like, oh wow,
still waiting
this guy's done it again.
I'm still waiting for Andre Russell to fall in a heap, because I can't believe he's managed to sustain. Like what I was saying about Klaasen being for 3 years for so good, like Andre Russell to keep this level up for 10 years is
he's the greatest T20 batter of all time.
Absolutely incredible.
We're going to wrap up we're going to wrap up now because we've still got 2 more games,
Mm.
and I know this was a good one, but we can't keep talking about it because we have more stuff to get to. So make sure you're liking and clicking that subscribe button or that follow button if you're over on Apple or Spotify. Back in a second.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, where we're moving on to the 3rd game of the 4-game IPL extravaganza that we saw this weekend. Ross, it was your boys, Rajasthan Royals, earlier on today playing the Lucknow Super Giants. It was a game of cricket that they won pretty comfortably, but it had a little bit of a story to it, didn't it? Do you want to elaborate and let the listeners know what happened?
Yeah, it was my pink boys, and as everyone who knows, I am Rajasthan. Yeah, the pink boys.
Sponsored by Manscaped, by the way.
Pink
If
boys.
you need to sort out your pink
Your
boys,
pink boy.
Use the code CricketPod for 20% off, or your pink boy, at manscaped.com. That code again, CricketPod, for 20% off and free shipping. Ross, great ad copy from you there. Tell us more about the pink boys.
So Jaiswal and Butler opening up didn't really fire as much as they would you'd expect them to. But the brilliance of this Rajasthan Royals team is that they have Sanju Samson at 3, and he played a cultured innings, is how I would say it. He was in supreme touch, and he enjoys the opening game of the IPL. I think he's hit kind of plenty of half centuries and even a century, kind of in the last 6 of them. And yeah, today he hit 82 or 52, and him and Rian Parag, the coming of Rian Parag as a
Long
major
promised.
pink boy, long promised, the major pink boy coming of age. He was really good. They both had, I don't know, they put on a bit of a clinic. I thought when I was batting, when I were watching them batting, I was like, this is just serene. It's just quite easy. Lucknow were a little bit toothless, I thought. Bishnoi has obviously copied Mahindra Singh Dhoni's haircut, which was a bit of a surprise, but great to see. And overall, it was just a bit too comfortable for the Royals. And you always thought they were going to end up with a score that was a little bit too much on what was not an easy place to play. I thought it was a little bit too paced, the pitch, by the looks of things. But yeah, ultimately, they got to see out the ones that they didn't really want to kind of attack, like Krunal Pandya, who comes away with some decent figures. But setting 193 was always going to be tricky. And then the lineup of their team was great, right? They set up their team with 3 overseas players. That gives them the flexibility to either bring in Dre Russ or another overseas player, or Rothman Pow if the things aren't going up. And they are one of the teams we said just get the impact sub rule better than some of the other teams do. And they used it very nicely here. Andre Berger on debut, taking an important wicket up top. Trent Bolt, Jack, just he's inevitable, isn't he, in the power play? And it was just ultimately coming down to a typical King legend disgrace, if I'm perfectly honest. The guy is an egomaniac, and he is. If you're a Lucknow fan, you should hate KL Rahul. Like he has cost you the opportunity. It was said before this game that he was going to bat in the middle overs, in the middle order. He opened up the batting, classic. Said he wasn't going to wicket keep. What's he doing? He's keeping. The guy's ego is out of control. And he gets 58 off 44 balls. And it literally puts so much pressure on the rest of Lucknow. And yeah, Deepak Hooda, even him coming in, who, let's be fair, he was the worst player in the IPL last season. He comes in, smashes a few runs. Pooran is doing all he can at the other end. And yeah, KL Rahul, hang your head in shame. You have cost your team big time here. And yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say other than if you're a Lucknow fan, let's get some effigies burned.
That's fair enough. Should we talk about King Legend first? I mean, that's what we're kind of known for, isn't it? So he gets not that many runs. Quite a lot of runs actually, rather, off a fairly large amount of balls, and that has an impact on what everyone else needs to do. I think there's 2 ways of analyzing this. And if you look on some of the impact, so if you look at some of the impact stats, for example, go over to Cricket Info, they give you a breakdown of the impact that a batter's runs has had on the outcome of the match or the team score. They actually value this innings reasonably highly. Like, nobody is saying that this innings lost Lucknow the game, and I think there's two sides to this debate with that in mind. There's the ESPN Cricket Info side, and then there's the Ross side where he has laid the blame.
I thought you were going to say the right side.
And then that laid the blame fairly and squarely at the feet of King Legend. And I just want to break down some numbers here, and then Max, you can come in and you can be the judge. You can be Judge Judy and executioner on this one. So King Legend, what his innings means is that the rest of the team need to get 136 runs off 76 balls with 9 wickets in hand, which is an accomplishable thing to do. Like, they need to bat a cumulative strike rate of 178 with all of those wickets. And then remember that the impact sub is in play as well, and they've used it for a batter, so they kind of have an extra batter versus a league, obviously, where that wouldn't be in play and the bowlers would be in earlier. Then you can deduct extras from that, perhaps, and that brings the strike rate down to just, and I'm quotations, they're just 160. And I think that there is an argument here that is not a total death sentence, and that this might not be like a colossally awful wicket. That's 122 to win off just over 12 overs with 9 wickets in hand. Like that, there's a lot of teams that are going to pull that off. Now, on the other side, like, obviously the rest of the team don't know that King Legend is going to play this exact innings, and the way he structures that innings by going really slowly at the beginning and then trying to speed up is more or less proven to be bad. Like, it's a really silly way of structuring your innings. So you have to bear that in mind when you look at the final score and the things that I've thrown in there. And also, like Ross was saying, this pitch wasn't necessarily a pitch where striking at 150 or 160 was good. Throw in one final piece of evidence, Max. And I'm not really defending anyone here. I'm just putting all the evidence out there. Afterwards, King Legend makes the really, really insightful comment that I don't think anyone has cracked the power play yet. With all that in mind, can you use your supercomputer of a brain to tell us whether King Legend did in fact cost his team the win?
Has he had a word with the team that they were playing against about how they've cracked the power play? Maybe he could take a couple of lessons from the Pink Boys. I don't know. The thing with King Legend, right? At one stage, like, so when he got to his 50, I think it was 51 off 35, and that is just blueprint King Legend, right? That is so standard. 50 like off 35. I mean, it's like, and that isn't the end of the world, like in of itself, but it's the pacing of the innings for me that like really points you towards like what is going on. Like, he's opening the batting, right? That's when there are 2 fielders outside the circle. It's the easiest time to score fours and get a pretty good strike rate going, get your team off to a good start. And he doesn't do that. He doesn't take advantage of the fact that the other team can only have 2 people on the boundary. And yeah, like, the ball's newer and it's swinging and it's a bit harder to face the bowling, but also value for your shots. So play some. The flip side is like, yeah, okay, look, you set a team. He did with 50 or 35. He has set his team a reasonable platform from which to chase a score. They are chasing 190, so they do need to go faster than that. But like, with wickets falling around him, Quinton Cock isn't fired. Paddock got a duck. I only got nothing as well.
I played KL Rahul for that duck, by the way.
You could, there's an argument that you could make that in that scenario, getting yourself to a point where actually, with Huda and Poran, you can then launch again and have another attack at that is fine. But then you look at that, he was 50 of 35 and he's ended up on 58 or 44. He's ended up going at below 100 strike rate from the point he's got his 50. That is absolutely criminal.
He's thinking about the next milestone.
That's 100. That's the bit, like, that's the point where you go, right? And then he's basically been like, Puran, you're better. You can do that instead. Like, you're in now to finish it. You're the finisher. So I'm just going to absolve myself of all responsibility in winning this game and leave it to you. And I'm just going to nurdle a single and get you on strike. And that's disgraceful. Like, you're the captain, you're the big man. Go and and you say like, look, start. I'll start and then I'll speed up, and that's how I'm going to win the game. We'll do that. And that's where it's really, really gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, he's. I tried to present it neutrally. I think he basically has cost him the game, or has played a big hand in doing it. because you don't. The end stats they look fine, and that innings played in a winning score will that innings will sometimes contribute to a win in that situation.
You had to go well in the power play. That was the
don't know.
Yeah, look what Rajasthan managed to do, right?
Do you want to know his 5-ball strike rate?
Sure.
So how 70? So off the first
70
5 balls of the innings. Off the first 5 balls of the innings.
I was going to suggest 80 as a joke.
No, so the average 5-ball strike rate is only just over a runner ball. So it's not like but his is 0.7 runs per ball, which means you'd expect him to score on average 3.5 runs off the first 5. This is why he faces so many maidens to begin games. If you rank that in world cricket, he is the worst by absolutely miles. Like it's like he is so hilariously off the charts bad. The only player like sort of note that you would know in the another way of saying you would know is actually plays T20 cricket is Dasan Shanaka, and even his 5-ball strike rate is 80. Like it's
like a second Hardik Pandya.
Yeah, well, that's like half a run more over 5 balls. I mean, that's an absolutely huge flaw to have in your game. Ross, we've talked. This has been the LSG show. Rajasthan Royals did some good things, didn't they? You talked a bit about Samson, Sandeep Sharma. Do you want to give some praise before we wrap up on part 3?
Well, I just think it was such a mature innings from both. That partnership between Parag and Samson was just excellent to watch, and you just saw them kind of being able to hit round the ground. They attacked where they needed to attack, and they knew kind of exactly what their game plan was. And I think there's so many teams in this competition who just are a little bit lottery, and that's fun to kind of watch. Rajasthan have a clear strategy when it comes to how they construct their innings, and then also how they go around the bowling. Even on the bowling here today, there was some chat on our Discord channel, which you can sign up for on Patreon. The kind of what's the approach that they're kind of taking here? Sandeep Sharma, he doesn't bowl at the death. He's a renowned IPL power play bowler. They backload him and he bowls brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly. They turn the tables again on something that you're just like, right. Sometimes last season it was the balance of the team where you can't play with kind of 5 batters, 6 bowlers. Well, they managed to do reasonably okay, but obviously not brilliant. But they're trying different things, and that's what I really like about this team. I also really like the fact that Shimron Hetmeyer refused to believe he was out and was absolutely crushed to find out they'd actually snicked off, which was brilliant TV. And you saw Ravichandran Ashwin, who the guy's ability to get his emotions under control and like pull one out of the bag is next level. Because he was going around the park, he bowled in the power play, which was a bit of a disaster, and he was on for a hiding. And what was it, 18th or 19th over? He gets a wicket and goes for 4 runs, just when Lucknow looked like they could get there. The guy is, he's ice cool. And overall, this team is going to be quite difficult to beat because I think Bolt and Berger were good. Avesh Khan in the middle overs was effective, and then Yuzi Chahal and Ashwin are going to be good. And if Sandeep Sharma continues this, then that's going to be very, very difficult for other teams to come up against. So, yeah, a really strong performance from Rajasthan Royals.
Avesh Khan was a fantastic final over as well. I know that it probably had a bit of leeway, but he bowled it brilliantly.
Ross, you were the previewer for both these teams. Rajasthan Royals, your judgment after one game?
I think it's pretty damn good. Their top order is scary. If Jaiswal doesn't get you, Joss will. If Joss doesn't get you, Samson will. It's really difficult to come up against, and they just look like a complete team. And I think they're going to go far in this tournament. And
I think you had Lucknow Super Giants as well. What do you make of Lucknow?
I said that they need their superstars to shine in pretty much every game because all of the rest of their players have got quite a limited ceiling. And I think we saw that today, kind of unfold. They need to have a better game plan. You can't be coming into things like they've drafted in or traded in Devdutt Padikkal for Avesh Khan. That is a good pickup. And if you put KL King Legend in the middle overs, actually Devdutt can actually attack. And it was the intent today that saw them not have it. And I think their pace bowling is just a little bit toothless. Naveen's good, but the rest leave a lot to be desired, if I'm perfectly honest. And Yash Thakur was, before the tournament, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. He was a pie chucker. An absolute pie chucker. He got murdered today, and yeah, it was unfortunate. But I still think there's hope for this Lucknow team. I think Quinton de Kock's going to probably be better than more often than he fails. KL is going to have some good innings along the way, and Puran was a really bright spark in this lineup. And he is box office. And I think if he can continue his form from last season as he did today for the rest of this season, they are going to win games. But they need a better game plan.
Cool. We're going to take another quick break, then we're going to come back with the last game from the weekend, which was the Punjab Kings of Comedy v the Delhi Capitals.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast for the final match of our first IPL 2024 weekend review. Just a final reminder to like and subscribe to the Cricket Podcast, or follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever, follow us on all of those things, and go over to TikTok, where we're now megastars, for more short form content. Obviously, don't do that if you're in India, because it's been banned. Which is sad. So yesterday, Delhi took on the Punjab Kings, and Delhi, they batted first, and it kind of went okay for Delhi. Like it didn't go well, but it went okay. They eased themselves into the tournament. They did lose some wickets, and things did kind of go wrong, and they were saved to some extent by a miracle innings from Abhishek Parel, who came in and hit 32 off 10. After he was impact subbed in. So, there were ups and downs, but they got to the score.
That tells you how well the innings was going, that they had to impact sub in someone.
They got 174 runs, which seemed like it could be a decent number of runs. It set up a decent game. In response, the Punjab Kings of Comedy, they set off pretty well. Shikhar Dhawan looked a really good touch, hit 4 fours pretty quickly. Then he slowed down a little bit. Then he got out. Ishant Sharma, who only bowled a couple of overs because he went off with an injury, as if Delhi needed another injured pace bowler. That happened to Ishant Sharma. He picks up Dhawan, and then he deflects the ball onto the stumps from a Prabhsimran Singh shot to run out Johnny Bairstow. Cue loads of jokes about Johnny Bairstow staying in his crease, which actually in this case were quite funny. It is usually quite funny to laugh at Johnny Bairstow. You never really know what's going to happen with the Kings of Comedy. There was a little bit of a wobble there. Prabhsimran Singh was batting like it was a net. Then obviously he got out. Kuldeep comes into the game. Jitesh Sharma, who's normally a really good starter, did not start very well and then got stumped. And it was all, the gears were in motion. The clown cart was hurtling down the motorway. Shikhar Dhawan dressed in a suit at the wheels, trying to keep control of all the clowns in the background with their squirty guns, water pistols, and honking noses. Or so we thought. But what actually happened, and this was quite interesting, is that Sam Curran came in as kind of firefighter in the power play, played a really mature inning, 63 or 47, and with Liam Livingstone resisting his natural inclination to do the most bonkers thing possible on the ball the other end. The two English guys steered Punjab to what turns out to be a fairly comfortable victory. It goes to the final over. There's 4 balls left, and in those scenarios, as we saw over this weekend, weird shit can happen. But Punjab, Ross did okay. They weren't as hilarious as they could have been.
They had a game plan, Jack. It is rare to see Punjab have a game plan, and I thought that they looked really good. I thought from the bowling department, actually, they had different options. I thought their spinners did particularly well, and you saw that they could look to attack in the right ways. And I thought that they picked up wickets frequently. Like the Abhishek Parel thing happening, like it is what it is, right? But I didn't think that 170 was going to be enough. I thought it was a pretty good deck that they were batting on. And then you saw up front, losing Ishant Sharma to injuries is never nice when you see people get injured. But their bowling attack, oh my God. Like spin wise, decent. Don't get us wrong. Like in our preview, Akshar and Kuldeep Yadav is a tasty lineup. But their pace bowling lineup, it just makes you want to vomit all over my keyboard. It's absolutely disgraceful. Mitch Marsh, lovely bloke, has a great mullet, has been fantastic for Australia. He should not be bowling 4 overs in the IPL. That should not be a thing. And he goes for 52 of his 4, doesn't look threatening at all. And the fact that Ngidi was injured. Nortje's coming back to fitness, isn't in the team. They decided to pick Fraser McGurk, who's a batter, as the replacement for Lungan Ngidi, and now their domestic pacer's got injured. Like it's all a bit of a disaster at Delhi, and it started when they named their team sheet. Right, 4 overseas batters. And about 15 wicket keepers somehow. It is an absolute disaster of a roster.
They didn't even have a wicketkeeper last year. How have they ended up with 15 backup wicketkeepers in a starting 11?
It's a classic overcorrection.
Yeah, Dr. Ganguly's back as well, isn't he? Yeah, Rishabh Pant not going to be able to keep. What's he doing first game? Keeping.
Took a fairly smart stumping as well.
Yeah, Pant looked
Quite good
I
by
think
the
we'll get on to Pant in a second. He was good, but just today I could not believe what I was seeing. And if this is the lineup they're going to play, like, it's going to be a long season for Delhi fans, and I'm going to send our condolences already to the Edges and Sledges podcast, who hopefully, no doubt, were listening to this. But yeah, the Delhi boys are going to really struggle this year. Shy Hope, he was fine, but why is he in this team? Why are you using your overseas? Yeah, what? This was baffling.
The fact that he got an overseas slot, that's like what?
Yeah, just literally pick KS Bharat. They just do that. That would be fine. Like absolutely fine. And the fact they got rid of Phil Salt for Shy Hope is just disgraceful. But we are.
Can we quickly run through some of like the 4 overseas bats thing? This is basically, and Dan Weston did a really good Twitter thread on this. If you want to go and look at it in more detail, basically it boils down to like a bunch of dumb people have made a bunch of really dumb decisions and forgot that you need quite a good bowling attack to win in the IPL. But there's a huge correlation between being good at bowling and qualifying for the playoffs. And so Delhi's approach is even more baffling when you bear that in mind. I'm going to go through the list of players that they picked up at the auction. And that point about like having a good bowling attack is relevant to this list. They went for Harry Brook, 4 crore. They went for Tristan Stubbs. They went for Ricky Boy. Kumar Kashagra,
Rasik like
Dar,
7.4 crore.
Yeah, another wicketkeeper.
Yeah, well. They did. Yeah, another wicketkeeper. Jai Richardson, injured. Sumit Kumar, part-time bowler, I think. Like the wicketkeeper was up to the stumps for him. Didn't look too good. Shy Hope and Swastik Shikara. Bearing in mind again that point about needing to have a good bowling attack. Interesting collection of players.
And they've got Nortje, right? They've got Jai Richardson is classically injury prone. Nortje has not played cricket really for 2 years because he's so injury prone.
Yeah, and then Ngidi drops out with an injury. Like basically they bought a bunch of backup batters for a problem that they don't really have. Like if you're going to play David Warner, there's questionable whether he should be still in the IPL or still a captain, whatever. Like let's ignore them for now. If you're going to play David Warner and you're going to play Mitch Marsh, you don't really have room for other overseas batters. Maybe you need one backup. Or maybe you want like the option of playing a middle order hitter. Maybe. Tristan Stubbs, Harry Brook, they'd kind of fill that role. That would be fine. Like the rest of your money, and they saved 10 crore at auction. The rest of your money should go on like having a decent backup for the guy who's definitely going to be injured when the IPL happens. Max, baffling.
Completely. And it's not as if like they didn't have other options, not just that would have been like a serviceable replacement for Shy Hope, but would literally have been better. Like look at their squad. Like they've got, I mean, they impact subbed in Abhishek Parel, who scored 34 of 17, like instead of actually just playing him instead of Shy Hope. They spent all that money on Kumar Kashagra because obviously like massively highly rated and there was a bidding war for him. That could have been an option. And if they're really insistent, he's also a wicketkeeper. So if they do want to still have 15 wicketkeepers, they could still have picked him.
Where's the money?
Is Prithvi Shaw injured?
Where's the money? Do you know? You look at some other teams on the roster, and you're just like, oh right, you can see where they've concentrated all their cash.
Yeah,
on this team, you're just like, where is it?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and then the batting all fell into a heap anyway, and they were never going to have the bowling to get themselves out of it. So yeah, baffling. Baffling is the word, Jack. Like I think you summed it up really well with the sort of stuff about the auction.
couple of other points. Kuldeep Boldwell, he's blameless in this scenario. He was fine. And Ross, Punjab, Livingston and Curran actually played a good innings. I mean, like there's decent. More than 50% of our listeners are English. They'll probably want to know about the English success stories. There were 2 in this game, weren't they? And they were named Livingston and Curran.
Yeah, and it was really professional. I think sometimes England fans get the very best and the very worst of Liam Livingstone, and so many people just take a little bit of time when you've got it. Just use the time effectively because you've got the ability to absolutely twat sixes kind of on demand. And here it was that case of just taking it a little bit deeper. And taking the lottery nature of the Punjab Kings chase out of the equation. Sam Curran, I thought, was brilliant. He's come into this tournament, and Max, you're a big Sam Curran fan because he's a Surrey boy. Since the World Cup MVP, he struggled. I think it's probably fair to say, and his stock has gone down a little bit. But here you saw Sam Curran, the batsman, the batter, who was absolutely kind of, I don't know, head and shoulders above of some of his teammates, and I thought it was an excellent innings. And Liam Livingstone came in and batted a little bit with him and then finished it off quite nicely. It was a really, really mature performance from Punjab Kings, and I don't think I've been able to say that ever in the time we've been following and doing the podcast. And it's good that they've done it, because this was kind of a must-win game. If they would have lost to this Delhi team, this Delhi team could lose like all their games. That's how bad they are.
They'll do that. I think they could lose 10.
Kuldeep will get 6 for 9 in a game at one point, and they'll be all right.
But there is, I was being a bit dramatic there, but
a thought has occurred to me, like, well, why didn't Norkie play? Is Norkie still in South Africa because he's about to have a child? I think that might be the case, which again, would have been known information when they picked up Fraser McGurk.
Pregnancy is famously unspottable.
We give RCB a bit of a hard time on this every now and again because of their decision making. They would have said, Josh Hazelwood, your wife's having a baby. We're not picking you. You're released. See you later. Here, they're just like, we'll gamble. We'll press the gamble button.
Yeah. Oh, man. Delhi. Judgments on the 2 teams. Delhi, who had the preview for Delhi?
I did. And I said...
What do you think of Delhi?
Shit.
Better or more shit or less shit than you thought.
So I literally got my weaknesses: injury proneness to their bowlers, and they don't have domestic talent. That is right there. That is completely been proven. Who is actually going to keep if Pant doesn't keep? Well, Pant actually turned up. I thought Pant was good. Like Pant, I think behind the stumps, he was good. Hilarious that his first shot back was kind of the weird kind of backwards cut kind of thing, and he looked rusty, I think it's probably fair to say, but great to see him back after, well, let's be fair, he could have died, but overall I just this team has got so many flaws that there's no way they're going to be able to put together a consistent run of games unless David Warner rolls back all the years and hits kind of blistering hundreds for fun again, which I just can't see at this point in his career. Worrying times of Delhi.
Yeah, it's not happening. That point. Punjab, I think I had Punjab. Like you were saying, Ross, I actually kind of pleasantly surprised. Like the clown car tax it's still there. Like they still do some really baffling things. They've still got a load of batters that do some crazy stuff. They still make some quite weird decisions in the field. They're not very well organised. But when they needed to knuckle down, they did. And we didn't see that too much last year. What we'd have seen last year is like Sam Curran 40 off 20 balls and then he's out. And we're like, why did you do that and not the longer innings? Like, but he played a dumb shot at the end, trying to hit 6 to more or less win it. I think at that point he was entitled to have a little bit of a laugh, and so no major worries there. Still not really convinced that they'll do anything great. Though. I think
if they do keep it together, like there's a chance. But this was a must-win game, right? This was against one of the worst teams they're going to play, and it was an easy one for them. You've seen in the past they could have easily thrown it away and collapsed in a heap, and that's why it was good. Just one more thing on Delhi. Yeah, they've got Fraser McGurk right in that space. They've got intent problems in the middle of the middle order. Why did they not play him?
I don't know if he's landed yet, or I think I heard that he had landed, but it was like yesterday or something, or the day before the game. So maybe they thought he'd be a bit tired from the flight. Like, I don't know, man. It's Delhi. they clearly don't know what they're doing. Ricky Ponting's stock as a coach is basically zero.
He's a great commentator, not a great coach.
Great commentator. Yeah. Right, we've got 2 games to preview. We've run over a little bit, so we have to keep these previews really short. Tomorrow, Punjab Kings of Comedy v the Racecar Beds, Royal Challengers, Bengaluru. Let's get their name right. That's going to be good. Ross, can you give us a little précis and who you think will win?
That is a toughie. That is a real tough one because I think both teams have got the flaws in their space. But we saw some good shoots of green, I suppose, from RCB. I think this is going to be an absolute ding dong. Like every single game so far has been actually really good. Like you couldn't have asked, I don't think, for a better kind of 5 opening games to a tournament. And this one, I don't think is going to be any different. I'm going to say that this will be an RCB win purely on the fact that it's a home game for them at the Chinnaswamy. Okay. But it's a very marginal call on that front.
I'm going to take Punjab on that. I think Punjab's lineup is better constructed for the Chinnaswamy than the actual home team, and that tells you all you need to know about how RCB recruit. Max, where would you put your money?
I'm with you, Jack. I'm going for the Punjab Kings. Again, same logic. Also, we have to add the narrative component, and it's obviously the return of Harshal Patel, and I feel like that's got triumphant victory written all over it. Good. He did, apart from the last over. Yeah. But
yeah, I thought you meant his hair transplant, not his bowling.
Oh, actually, can we just have a very quick segue into the hair in general? Because this weekend
it's gone up and
off. There's a lot of hair.
It's been
Hardik,
yeah.
Bishnoi, Krunal Pandya's hair is great. Dhoni's hair is great. Suya Sharma's great. Sai Kishore's got a fantastic set of hair on him as well.
Both Ravindra's on CSK, identical haircut.
The hair is insane this year. Big.
Really like Varma had an earring. I thought I saw that. That was.
He
nice
looks
touch.
good. Yeah. Stylish.
Yeah. Last game.
Actually, so, by the way, I'm calling RCB winning purely in the fact that I don't think that Punjab can put together 2 good performances in 3 days.
It's
not that RCB are brilliant. It's just the fact that I doubt Punjab's consistency.
Right, Paul, there's 2 more games because our next show is on Wednesday, not Tuesday, and I forgot that. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, if you want to know the schedule.
This is an absolutely cracking comment from Navneet. The actual reason Prithvi Shaw didn't play this weekend was the hair. That is absolutely brutal.
Oh, I wish I'd said it. That's so good.
Right. On Tuesday, the Chennai Super Kings take on the Gujarat Titans. 2 well-organised, clever teams that seem to be structured properly. Not what we want to see, is it, Max? Not at all what we want to see. Who's going to win?
No, it's going to be a tight, fair, squeaky bum Alex Ferguson time, I reckon, this one. I can't not go with my yellow boys. So it's Chennai for me, at home as well. But I am scared as a Chennai fan, having watched that Gujarat game. They feel like a side that are well set up to go to the Chapok and win with Rashid Khan, Sai Kishore, Noor Ahmed's an option to come in. There's reasons to be fearful as a CSK fan, but I reckon they'll still do the business.
Roth, really quick one from you. CSK v Gujarat.
I'm going to have to back CSK on this one. I think Gujarat Titans look like they're going to be good value for money yet again. Great to see Sai Kishore back in the mix as well there. But surely it's a first game. It's playing at the Chapok. Surely they'll be all right.
I'm going to go with Gujarat then, just to mix things up. It's not like Gujarat don't have good spinners. Sai Kishore, we saw him today. He looked like a pretty handy spinner. The Chapok. Really yeah. And then Rashid Khan, they could even throw in Noor Ahmed if they wanted to. Like, clever team. It's going to produce.
Batting is slightly better for CSK. That's what all I think. That there's a little bit.
It's going to produce probably a very normal cricket match.
A very tight 170 aside.
Yeah. I don't want that. I don't want people doing what they're supposed to do.
The blood pressure's not getting up for that game, is it? It's just like, there's a game of cricket going on. That's quite nice. Shall I have a cup of tea?
Yeah, and then Sunrisers Hyderbad beat Mumbai Indians on Wednesday. So it's like a little peak here, isn't it? There's the carnage of tomorrow, there's the sensibleness of Tuesday, and then Sunrisers v Mumbai. That could be carnage again, couldn't it, Ross?
Already a big game, right? Actually, going for 2 for 2 and losing your opening both games of both of these franchises would be mega, right? So I think this is a massive, massive game. But I think there's some exciting bits for SRH if they get their team right. And Mumbai Indians need to go back to being Mumbai Indians, as we said earlier in the show. So I'm going to say that Mumbai regain their composure, put the emotion to one side, and manage to overcome Pat Cummins 11.
I'm going Mumbai. Max, last word from you. We've got 10 seconds before we want to wrap this up. Who's going to win?
Well, I'd better go SRH if you've both gone Mumbai. I think they're at home and they'll do the business.
Okay. Hedge our bets. You've been listening to the Cricket Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be doing shows Wednesday, Friday, Sunday throughout the IPL and beyond into the future. We've got the T20 World Cup and more on the way. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow. And make sure you tell all your friends as well. It's been a real joy, this episode. Catch you soon.